Welcome to the Stellantis Tech and AI podcast. I'm Dale Jewett, your host, and in this episode, our guest is Mark Silk, Stellantis Senior Vice President for Global Analytics. Mark, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hey Dale, thanks for having me come along.
It's my pleasure. We have an exciting conversation ahead of us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've hopefully got an opportunity to tell you about all the great things the team are doing.
Hey, let's get started by having you tell me a little bit about what exactly it is you do.
What we strive to do, I guess, is influence decision making through data or really through analytics. To do this, we aim to be use case focused, starting with a customer, business or product opportunity, problem statement, hypothesis, take your pick. We do this by joining data from across the company into a single data architecture, platform architecture, and build engineering solutions for our team or our partners to use. Luckily, we have a talented group of architects, engineers, program managers who do that. We also deliver on our use cases by developing a really important semantic layer of data that kind of connects meaning to those use cases, turns our raw data into something that can be applied to day-to-day business challenges. And that's down to, BI engineering, visualization, business analysts. We also build tools and features via machine learning approaches within the data science space. But I guess ultimately, if things are working well, what we try to bring to the organization is what's known as causal inference, determining what causes what, and that hopefully is across the whole analytics group. And that's how we bring insights to our partners.
Now, my gut tells me today's vehicles are very electronic, lots of the sensors, lots of data. That today you get a lot of data off the vehicle from, I'm guessing, various things. And certainly the propulsion system, I would also guess, some of the infotainment stuff. Are you drowning in data from our vehicles these days?
Hopefully not drowning in data, but certainly we have the ability to collect lots of data. But the key here again is collecting where a use case exists. We're not just a data storage team, and we don't want to be sitting on data just because we can, both from an efficiency perspective, but also from a data management and privacy point of view. We want our customers to know that we're collecting data for a purpose. That said, yes, we have the ability to collect data from our retail vehicles over the air, both hardware signals and the in-cockpit software, like the infotainment system. We can collect digital data from the web, our apps. We can also collect data from our test vehicles to help with validation, testing, and design. So the capability exists for us to collect a lot of data. And then it's down to us to show the discretion so that we're not drowning in it, but there's sufficient data and timely data for us to answer the business challenges that we identify. And then the last thing I would say is I think our opportunity to utilize data and access data is going to grow kind of exponentially in the next few years as the three big software platforms come online. So AutoDrive, Stellar Brain, and Digital Cockpit, as they become a larger and larger percentage of our retail vehicles on the road, then they're going to really unlock a lot of really interesting insights and our ability to give our product partners a quick understanding of how our customers are utilizing our products and where they see value in them.
Sure. But I'm wondering, is there ever like aha moments, like you're working on a project, or does someone sift through the data and say, we never realized a customer was doing this. We never realized a guy was using his seat heater in July in Phoenix. That's an extreme case, but I don't know if aha moments just kind of bubble up because someone's looking across, usage data that, oh, wow, I would have never guessed that? Or are there ways to sift to look for these little nuggets in the data? You can tell I'm not a data guy.
I think that as this team and Software X as a whole matures, we're kind of 3 years old now, or a bit more, the aha moments are becoming a bit more frequent. I can give you a few examples of early insights and opportunities uncovered. So we've been working hard with the our digital platform colleagues to improve the customer journey in both our apps and on the web. We have seen when customers fall out of that journey, so stop finding value in the content in our digital channels, and we've been able to pinpoint the features or the user experience opportunities. I think best of all, though, we've been able to set up A/B tests, right? We run experiments, controlled experiments on the alternative solutions to solve those customer journey issues. So the customer helps us determine the best solution based on their usage, and then we go with that one. Another example right now would be predictive models to identify risk of failure in parts. And obviously, we hope that we don't have any, but it does happen. So we can be proactive in things like identifying risk in batteries, for example, to ensure that we preempt any issues and lessen the disruption to the customer in terms of service time, or reduce costs for both them and obviously for the company as well. And we've also been looking at the usage of all of the features in the infotainment system, as you say. As with any device, some features are discovered more than others, just like your cell phone, and some are used more than others. So some, like, say, tutorials, for example, that are on most vehicles in the infotainment system, they can be improved and relocated within the UI based on the insights that we've got. And then there's other features that will be descoped from future versions to simplify the customer experience, because it doesn't seem like our customers need them to have the best possible experience within the vehicle. I think going forward, just the one last thing I'd say is if we're doing our job and working well with our product partners in particular, these kind of aha moments or actionable insights, as I guess they would be called within the team, should happen throughout the software development life cycle, right? That's our goal, is to be embedded within each step of that life cycle to help each be kind of optimized, be the best version it can be as our product evolves.
Interesting. So are you a data scientist? And I'm curious, how did you reach this position where you are today?
No, I'm definitely not a data scientist. Data science probably wasn't even a job title when that existed when I first started out and graduated from undergrad, at least not as it exists today. And if I was to claim I was, I think my team would quite rightly, very quickly correct me and probably put some comments in this in response to this podcast. So I came into analytics having been initially exposed to the domain as a business partner. I worked in marketing, product management, and strategy at the start of my career. But over time, my dependency grew on my analytics partners. And so, with that, so did my interest in the area. So I went back to school, built up my knowledge and some skills a little bit, as basic as they are. And then took the opportunity to move into analytics full time, probably about a decade ago, I guess, maybe a little around that. And what I'd say is, like, while clearly a math-based education helps, right? It's probably the best foundation for working in this space. One of the things I like about analytics is that we don't need and want a team full of statisticians. Right? Having a team with a mixed set of skill sets and experience across software development, statisticians too, but engineers, BI analysts, and other backgrounds, makes us more likely to apply our work to solving problems for parts of the business. So it's a strength to have that diversity. Also, my role is, what I would also add is my role right now is really about three things. Empowering the team to be the best they can be, right? Clearing blockers out of their way, ensuring that they have the right tools and the insights about the business to apply their work. I think improving data literacy across the organization is also one of my responsibilities on behalf of my team. Not asking our partners to develop kind of our skill set, but the more they understand the foundational aspects of it and the core ground truth knowledge that comes with it, the more open they'll be to those aha moments that you mentioned earlier. If I can think like a business and product owner, because I've been one, and therefore help build credibility for the team when we're communicating and sharing what we're learning and the recommendations we're making, and then in turn translate what the business are talking about.
So Mark, I'm curious, before you got to this position, were you in automotive, or did your time in Stellantis mark your beginning in automotive?
Nope. So this is my first role in the automotive industry. So I definitely, 2.5 years ago when I joined the company, I definitely had a steep learning curve in understanding how this industry worked. I joined because of the challenge and the transformation that Stellantis is undertaking, right? But no, previously I worked in the video game industry. Even though that sounds very kind of different, there's a lot of transferable things in there, right? You're still trying to optimize the experience for your customers. And, it's a software-based business. We're building software services and experience here at Stellantis and within the software group. And so were we when we were building video games. And, my team's and our team's job back then was to do exactly the same thing, provide insights as to how the consumers were and how our players were playing the game, and what things were working and weren't, and whether they were creating them and fulfilling those needs, just whether in a game or in a vehicle, or on a channel that the customer is using online. Like it's all the same thing, right? The product may be different, but the end goal of improving the customer experience and improving business performance is really the same.
You said your learning curve was steep. Can you think of an example that might, what surprised you about the auto industry? I mean, if you don't mind telling me.
Yeah, well, so I think there's a couple of things, right? I came from a pure software business, right, or almost exclusively, right? Obviously, Stellantis has a very large manufacturing side of the business.
We do some hardware.
Develop hardware, exactly. So that provides opportunities too, right? Because you have the total end-to-end ecosystem within your control, which was not the case with my last role, but also creates a lot of complexity and also historically a very supplier-based business as well, right? A lot of partners who are providing parts of the customer's experience, whether it be hardware or software. One of the things that appealed to me was while we will continue to have some very key partners in what we do, also beginning to bring some of the IP in-house and develop it ourselves, and the opportunities that provides was one of the appealing things too. That difference, but bringing it maybe closer to what I've experienced in the past.
That's interesting, because I know we're working very hard to do a lot of our own development, which is very non-traditional for the auto industry. When it comes to things like software, that is a lot of it. Other than proprietary engine controller stuff, I think the industry turned to partnerships a lot, but our philosophy has definitely changed on that. Earlier, you talked about having customers' permissions to collect their data, and to me, whenever anyone talks about data in vehicles, that's like the elephant in the room. Like, oh man, you're sneaking behind my back, and you're taking all this data. I think people are afraid you'll use it against me in some shape or form. How do we try and make people comfortable with, hey, there are great benefits to letting us just watch what you're doing?
I would say that there are layers to this, right? I think, first of all, the core reason that we are going to collect any data is for safety and security first, right? We want to ensure our customers have a safe and secure experience, and we start there. And then anything beyond that, product optimization, or sharing of data across the company, is going to be something that, again, has a very specific purpose that can deliver value back to the customer, right? And then should it involve any of their personal data, then we collect consent from the customer. And if we do not have that consent, and to be clear, the customer has to proactively give their consent. And if they haven't done that, then we don't use that data. We don't. And we believe there are many benefits to that. But ultimately, that's the line we draw. And we hope that whether it be a feature or a subscription that the customer buys that enables, maybe has some degree of personalization, of which data is then required to deliver that personalization, being able to provide product recommendations or promotional offers. We see that the customer sees the value in those things, but ultimately, if we're going to use it for marketing purposes, we'll always put that gate in around consent. I think we can always do better in this area, and I think while I'm comfortable that we are both respectful and appropriate in our use of data, we continue to strive to make it more transparent. It should be a product. It should be and it will be one of our leading products for our customers, right? The knowledge that about what data we are collecting, how it's used, and how they can have control over their data, and that is being managed by Stellantis. I think that should be a differentiator for us. Right? That should be something that we're proud of, and that the customer sees us as leading the way on that one. And so, over the next few years, we will continue to push on that one, so that's how our customers think of us.
That's cool, and I like that. I personally think that maybe we almost need to be over transparent a little bit for a while with customers about, hey, we're not doing negative things, but yes, we can improve our products if you just let us take a look at what you're doing. I think consumers get concerned when they feel like, oh, you've been doing this behind my back. And in some cases, to them, behind my back is, oh, I signed a consent. Well, yeah, because it was buried in all the legalese at some point. And so maybe we just need to be blatant for a while.
Well, I think there's a couple of key things there, right? Consent needs to be a proactive action on the customer's behalf, right? To your point, it needs to be specific. So we need to, I would hope, and we're continually reviewing this to make sure that this is the case, but I would hope that the customer, gone are the days where the customer didn't realize they were opting into something, right? And then the second thing I would say is, at any point, customers can make a request to see the data that we have collected and are using, so that they can make a decision as to whether they are comfortable with that. And then the last thing I would say on this front is, for regulatory purposes or for safety and security purposes, there is some data that we keep for a reasonable period of time, but for the rest of things, if we don't have an ongoing purpose for that data, then we don't retain it, right? I think data management and the deletion of data or data retention is an important part of this, right? And being, again, to your point, being transparent about that. If we're going to collect data, if you've given us permission to collect personal data, how long will we keep it? And is it the minimum period needed to deliver on whatever commitment we made to you that you gave us consent for, but no longer than that?
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I like that a lot, Mark. So one last final question. If you have a crystal ball, is there a feature or two that data is telling us now that consumers or our customers would really kind of like to see in their vehicle in the next couple of years?
Well, I can tell you about a couple of things that we're working on, which I believe are things that our customers will value. Probably no surprise, but the growth of EVs is creating some really interesting opportunities. So the team is working on an estimated time of arrival kind of fuel consumption machine learning model to help alleviate or address the idea of range anxiety. Clearly, it's a topic that tends to come up when customers are moving away from standard combustion engines, so I'm excited that for this one, because it's an ML feature that our team are developing that will be embedded in a core customer experience, a customer-facing feature. We're also working on coaching features that aim to give our customers, especially our fleet customers, a better understanding of how their driving could positively impact both safety and the environment for the better. So again, using data that they give us permission for to give them a service and experience about two things and two areas that they find important and valuable to them. And so they're just two of the many things that the team are developing and I'm really excited about. But the whole of the team is really doing great work in, again, delivering answers to business problems and finding opportunities, right? Both to grow our business, but also ultimately enhance the customer experience.
That's pretty cool. That would be great. I'm curious. So you came to an automotive company. Did you take a Stellantis vehicle to drive in the Seattle area?
I do. I have a Jeep Cherokee 4xe.
Oh, great!
Actually, they're trying to take it back from me at the moment, but to get me to test another one and which is well tempting. I'm fully on board with the EV transformation. So as much as I love some of our ICE vehicles, I'm holding on until some of the releases later in this year, and then I'm gonna jump onto. I'm waiting for the truck. I'm waiting for our Ram EV. I'm pretty excited. Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty excited for that.
Wow. This week I'm swapping my ICE Grand Cherokee for a plug-in hybrid Pacifica. I really want to spend a year with some EV technology, and I think a plug-in Pacifica is a great way to start.
Yeah, I joined for three reasons. I joined for the EV transformation and the environmental benefit that could have. I've worked for some big companies, but this one has that have made commitments and promises around the environment. But this one, Stellantis means it. The work we're doing on CO2 emissions is exciting. I joined for the kind of transformation in mobility. And we are gonna change the way in which people move around, right? And that's very exciting. Even vehicle ownership, being able to change business models around insurance, make it more affordable. I think all of those things are really kind of exciting, and our team are involved in. We're building models that allow for customers to get better premiums on their insurance based on the way they drive. That's a great use of data. And then also, you don't often get a chance to go build or contribute to build an analytics group from the ground up, but to contribute building a software group from the ground up is a rare thing. So yeah, that's why I'm here. And I think a couple of years in, I think we're making good progress.
Great. Thanks a lot, Mark. Really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to the Stellantis Tech and AI podcast, where we speak with some of the brightest minds in the tech and automotive industries. We invite you to follow Stellantis Tech and AI on LinkedIn and Instagram to join the conversation, stay updated on what's ahead, and be part of the community exploring the fast lane of technology and AI in the automotive world. We'll see you again soon.